What's going on all you gamers? Today I'm going to be going over why I cannot wait for the release of Elden Ring and why I think it will be one of the best releases for next year. So if you want to know my thoughts on how Elden Ring's looking so far, then that's coming up next. Welcome back all you guys and girls, as always, for all things gaming, for all things Xbox, then why not hit that subscribe and bell icon. But for today I'm going to be going over why I'm looking forward to Elden Ring, or in fact should I say why I cannot wait for the release of Elden Ring. Now in case you don't know, Elden Ring is going to be releasing on the 25th of February 2022, so we do still have a few months until its full release. However, recently we were provided with a closed network test, allowing players to get their hands on a portion of the game and see how it actually handles. So we definitely have a lot more information to go on there. In case you didn't know, Elden Ring is a game very much in the same vein as Dark Souls, and although not exactly a Dark Souls 4, it is pretty much as close as you're going to get. It's made by From Software, the same people that created Dark Souls, and you may as well think of it as an unofficial Dark Souls 4 Souls. Same unrelenting action role-playing game that has a renown for being on the tougher side. In fact, a lot of times these types of games such as Bloodborne, Dark Souls, Mortal Shell, and of course Sekiro, do tend to attract slightly more hardcore gamers, those that will have the patience to learn all of the mechanics, and of course those that have the resolve to die and try over and over again. Kind of a lot. However, it's not only hardcore gamers that like these types of games, but due to their difficulty level, sometimes people tend to not stick around to the very end of all of these games. As like I said, to the casual gamers, they can be truly tough. And in my eyes, this is where Elden Ring will be an absolute hit. Now I can honestly say it's not going to be an easy game, there will be a lot of falling over and a lot of learning involved, but I have a distinct feeling with all at your disposal you may well be able to make your build a lot more powerful than in some of the previous games. And of course have more ways of achieving this as well, due to its different classes, of which we've seen 5 to choose from currently, ranging from the Warrior, which starts off with dual wield and seems to excel with 2 weapons and has high dexterity endurance, to the Prophet, which seems similar in style to a Cleric, high faith and mind, and although probably not the best at melee, does seem to have some crazy spells. All the way to the Bloody Wolf, which looks like an absolute beast of a class, huge strength and vigour and quite well rounded stats, although does have slightly less intelligence than Arcane, so will probably be more inclined to jump into melee combat than anything else. Now obviously that's all the classes we've seen so far, so there may well be more upon the full release, or they may be adapted in some way. All in all, they're looking pretty awesome, and now more than ever due to its much more open world nature and the fact that you can fast travel as well as the new jumping mechanic, I firmly believe that these functions in game, although not specifically making the game easier, I fully believe it will help a lot more players out, especially those that may well be new to this type of franchise. There will undoubtedly be a lot more ways to gain experience and more ways to help you get around and not quite feel as restricted or trapped in certain areas, meaning hopefully it's not quite as frustrating for the wider audience. I mean, for one thing, come on, you get your own horse. There's just going to be a whole lot more ways to actually deal with situations in the game, whether it be in tackling tough enemies or trying to use the terrain to your advantage. To me, the game just looks like a major upgrade, and I feel this may well help entice in a larger audience that may not have played it if it were Dark Souls 4 for example, and pretty much stayed to the tried and tested. Now the game itself is looking pretty darn good. Some of the long distance views are truly breathtaking, and although now there are more layers to it, for example scaling walls and such, the game definitely still retains that Dark Souls vibe. In fact, there's no doubt to me that at some point there will be a swampy terrain raising its head at some point in the game. Now like I said, the game itself is looking absolutely awesome with great mechanics and areas to explore, but without a lot of great enemies to actually take on, it would definitely fall short. The combat in these games has always been its bread and butter, and how good you got at it in general, unless you were some kind of a speedrunner, generally tended to determine how well you did in previous incarnations of Dark Souls. Fortunately, the combat and enemies in Elden Ring are looking great. Whether you're bopping standard enemies in the head with a sword or creating summons or spells, the combat looks fluid and very solid, as do all of the enemies, especially some of the tougher ones like the mini bosses and of course the bosses themselves. In my eyes, the bosses truly stand out, and some look absolutely exceptionally well designed and will take a lot of effort to beat by learning the mechanics or becoming stronger in order to take them on. Now from pretty much everything I've seen on Elden Ring, most things are positive. However, although there are a lot of positives, there's no doubt to me that a few issues will come up upon the game's release, because now you can traverse a lot easier and jump into areas that you probably usually couldn't have. There are sure to be a few bumps in the road and a few hiccups along the way. For example, players have already figured out how to use full damage to their advantage and defeat some of the biggest baddies in the game without going through the rigmarole of all the mechanics. Now, like I said, I'm sure that definitely won't be the only issue, but all in all, I think Elden Ring is just looking so promising that it's hard to dismiss. And if all goes well, this could easily be the game of the year next year, as well as, like I said, manage to wrangle in quite a few new faces to the community because of its new mechanics and the way you can deal with all the situations within the game. This may well not be titled Dark Souls 4 and may not be the Dark Souls that people were expecting, but it may well be the new Dark Souls we all deserve. Time will definitely tell, but for me, my fingers are firmly crossed and I truly hope that it lives up to the hype that it has waited on its shoulders. As always, guys and girls, for all things gaming, for all things Xbox, take care. I'll see you on next day.